Morning and welcome to the July 9th, 2026 meeting of the Lewis and Clark County Commission. Please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That pledge means just a little bit extra after having been at the reading of the Declaration of Independence yesterday that was down on the Capitol building. We have a lot to be thankful for as a country. I'd like to introduce the folks on this end of the room. To the far left, my far left is Jenny Chambers, our Director of Public Works and Planning. Brandy Grandy is our recording secretary and will keep track of all of our proceedings and get it posted on our website as soon as possible. Over here at Roger Baltz is our chief administrative officer, and Nico Hash represents the county attorney's office and tries to keep us between the rails. To my immediate right is Commissioner Candace Payne, and to my immediate left is Commissioner Andy Hunthausen. I'm Tom Rolfe, Chair of the Commission this year. There is a sign-up sheet on the other side of the bar. We ask that you fill that out and leave us contact information so that we can get a hold of you if we have questions about anything that's presented. And there's also an agenda for today. Mr. Baltz, looks like we have just one consent action item today.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. This is item 2A on the agenda. It's vendor claims report for the week ending July 10, 2026. Staff recommends approval of that item, and Misty and Jeremy are here as usual. Thank you, Commissioners.
All right. All right. Are there any questions for Mr. Baltz? Any questions? Is there any public comment on this item? Any public comment on this item? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'd move that we approve consent action item 2A as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on this item from among the commission? Any discussion? I see none. We'll move to a vote. All those in favor of approving the vendor claims report for the week ending July 10th, 2026, as explained by Mr. Baltz, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Now we'll move on to regular action items. The first is a resolution 2026-69.
Good morning, Chair Rolfe, Commissioners. I'm Audra Zacherl, Assistant Director of Public Works. On June 25th, 2026, Resolution 2026-55, intent to increase the solid waste disposal fee established by the Scratch Gravel Solid Waste District Board beginning July 1st, 2026, was passed to increase the assessment as voted on by the Scratch Gravel Solid Waste District Board April 9th. Legal ads appeared in the Helena Independent Record the past 2 weeks, and written public comments were accepted until 4 p.m. yesterday at the Lewis and Clark County Clerk and Recorder's Office. One comment was received in favor of the assessment. The assessment increase from $98 per residential unit to $118.50 per residential unit per year is recommended for inflationary and capital improvement needs. Today is the time set for the public hearing. Staff recommends the Board of County Commissioners approve Resolution 2026-69 to increase the Scratch Gravel Solid Waste District assessment to $118.50 per residential unit per year.
Could you maybe give a little explanation why this is a little above the normal, just the inflationary adjustment? We're expecting some changes in the operation. Could you itemize that? Tell us a little bit about it.
Sure. Thank you, Chair Rolfe, Commissioners. The increase is $20.50 Approximately $13.50 of that increase is related to a project that that the county is planning, and that is to construct a new drop-off site for the Scratch Gravel District permit holders off of Deal Lane near the county landfill. We're hoping to have that opening by next summer.
All right. And that should make it a little easier for people in that part of the county to do any drop off.
Yes, and thank you, Chair Rolfe. So currently the only location that the district is able to use is the City of Helena transfer station here in town. So this will add a second site on the east side of the valley. And then once that site is open, we intend to open the Marysville site to all permit holders. So there'll be 3 sites available to the permit holders, and they're kind of triangulated. Here's the city transfer station. This would be the Deal Lane site, and this would be the Marysville site.
All right. Anything else you'd like to add about what the changes and?
Just that we held a meeting open to the public on June 30th for Scratch Gravel. We sent a postcard to each of the residents that received permits this past year. And we had about 70 people attend that meeting. I counted this morning, we had over 40 people contact me by email or by phone who also had an interest from the postcard. So we had over 100 people show up or call or email. And from that meeting, we had one person who was vocally concerned about Lake Helena Drive, not necessarily against the new site, but just against perhaps the increase in traffic and dust. So staff has taken those items under advisement. We've had just overwhelming support. Even people who are on the west side of the freeway think it's a great thing for the district. So,
and it should reduce some of the traffic into the original site there next to Carroll College.
Yes, Chair Rolfe, that is the reason for this new site, is to relieve the congestion on the transfer station and to alleviate the need to have to site and build a new transfer station. That would cost about $55 million, I believe, is what our manager said. And this site that we're proposing is $2 million. So quite a big difference, and that'll save all Lewis and Clark County residents money.
All right. Any other questions from the commission? Any other questions from the commission? Is there any public comment on this item? Any public comment? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve Resolution 2026-69 to increase the solid waste disposal fee established by the Scratch Gravel Solid Waste District Board beginning July 1st, 2026, as presented by Audra Zacherl.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion, commissioners? Seeing no discussion, we'll move on to a vote. All those in favor of approving Resolution 2026-69 to increase the solid waste disposal fee established by the Scratch Gravel Solid Waste District Board beginning July 1, 2026, as explained by Audra Zacherl. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Now on to Resolution 2026-70.
Thank you, Chair Rolfe. Again, for the record, I'm Audra Zacherl, Assistant Director of Public Works. Also on June 25th, Resolution 2026-54, intent to decrease the solid waste fee established by the Scratch Gravel Solid Waste District Board for the operation and maintenance of the Marysville Solid Waste Subservice Area beginning July 1st, was passed to decrease the assessment voted on by the Scratch Gravel Solid Waste District Board on April 9th. Legal ads appeared in the independent record the past 2 weeks, and written public comments were accepted until 4 p.m. yesterday at the Lewis and Clark County Clerk and Recorder's Office. and no protest or support letters were received. The assessment decrease from $65 per residential unit to $45 per residential unit per year is recommended to reduce cash reserves for the potential future dissolution of the district. Once dissolved, the operation expenses will be absorbed into the existing scratch gravel solid waste district. Today is the time set for the public hearing. Staff recommends the Board of County Commissioners approve Resolution 2026-70 to decrease the solid waste assessment to $45 per residential unit per year.
You alluded to the fact that that's going to be transitioned to be able to be used by everyone. Can you describe the area that has been just using that site now?
Thank you, Chair Rolfe, Commissioners. Currently, the site is only utilized by Marysville residents. And the Marysville residents pay this assessment in addition to the scratch gravel. So they're paying two assessments. But that site was meant just for them originally. We get a lot of comments from people that they would also like to utilize that site. They're nearby or it's on their way here or there skiing, for example, and they would like to utilize that site. So when we decided to site this new one in the East Valley, it made sense to make all three sites just part of the scratch gravel district instead of having several districts in the Helena Valley.
So eventually those folks in the Marysville area will not have any additional assessment, but everybody will have the assessment we just passed.
Correct. So we have to completely spend down the cash reserves in the Marysville on the Marysville site. Any funds that we collect for the Marysville district have to be used there. So we're reducing the assessment to just what we feel we need for operational expenses over this next year. If there's any funding remaining at the end of this next year, we'll do some site improvements to the site, and then we'll work with legal to dissolve the district, and it will be absorbed into scratch gravel, so there will only be one assessment for the whole valley.
Okay, so maybe, for instance, folks from Birdseye would be able to use that site, and maybe people from the northwest part of the valley, the northwest part of the valley would be a little closer for them to go up there to the Marysville site.
Sure, and I had a couple of the phone calls that I took from residents interested in the public meeting that we held when I explained what we were doing. They were pretty excited that they'd be able to drop their garbage off on their way to Marysville skiing. So I think a lot of people that we would be surprised might use it. So, yeah.
Wonderful. Okay, any other questions from the commission? Nothing? Okay. Is there any public comment on this? I see none, so do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'd move that we approve Resolution 2026-70 to decrease the solid waste operations and maintenance fee of the Marysville Solid Waste Subservice Area established by the Scratch Gravel Solid Waste District Board beginning July 1, 2026, as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion from the commissioners? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor of Resolution 2026-70 to decrease the solid waste operation and maintenance fee of the Marysville Solid Waste Subservice Areas established by the Scratch Gravel Solid Waste District Board beginning July 1, 2026, as explained by Audra Zacherl, please say aye.
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 Pose same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Our next item on the agenda is Resolution 2026-66.
Good morning, Chair Rolfe, Commissioners. My name is Jessica Makis, Special Districts Coordinator for Lewis and Clark County. Today, you'll be holding public hearing to hear comments and objections regarding the final adoption of a resolution to levy and assess an annual special assessment upon each benefiting property within the Field Cross Scratch Gravel Rural Improvement District. There are 42 benefiting properties in the district. And I'll just pull that up on our map here. I forgot to do that. Okay, we can see this district just located just off Green Meadow Drive. Fieldcross Scratch Gravel RID was created in 2024 to improve and maintain Scratch Gravel Drive, Fieldcross Lane, and Hannah Lane. Improvements for the district included the installation of asphalt aprons at the transitions between Green Meadow Drive and Hannah Lane, and Green Meadow Drive and Fieldcross Lane, drainage remediation, and new gravel surfacing. Maintenance of the district includes snow plowing and sanding, grading, gravel maintenance, drainage maintenance, and other maintenance as necessary to preserve the road improvements. Maintenance costs are estimated at $6,068 per year, and each benefiting property will be assessed $145 per year. This amount is unchanged from last year. The cost of improvements was estimated to total $112,987, including the 5% requirement to the RID revolving fund. The original improvement or debt assessment was set at $277 per property per year in order to pay off the original construction estimate over 15 years. Actual construction costs were lower than anticipated, totaling $48,985.53. With this lower cost, we can lower the improvement portion of the assessment from $277 per property per year to $115.80 per property per year until the debt is repaid, approximately another 14 years. Legal notice of the assessment and the public hearing was sent to all benefiting property owners and published in the Helena Independent Record on June 20th and June 27th, 2026. As of this morning, no written testimony has been received. Staff recommend approval of the resolution to levy and assess the district and lower the debt assessment. I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you.
I think this is a great example of you and the folks who work on the special improvement districts taking a look at things and saving money for our taxpayers as it's appropriate. Obviously, the costs for doing the work have not been as high as anticipated, and so we're actually dropping about what $130 roughly directly on their tax bill. Is that right?
Chair Ralph, that's correct. And with these loan improvements, these types of assessments, it's a broader effort even than just our special district staff. This includes the tax department, the accounting department, the finance department. All of those departments have to coordinate on this component of the assessment. So it's a big effort, and a lot of people have to be involved in this. But it is an opportunity to lower that cost for people.
And just to reiterate, when we have a special district like this, that money that comes in from those taxpayers is only used for the items that are identified in the special district.
Chair Ralph, that's correct. So each special district is handled independently. As you mentioned, each one has its own fund number. In this case, we have an initial improvement, and those assessments collected for that debt component will go towards the loan payback for that component. And then at the same time, we have a maintenance assessment that will be used to maintain the roads that have been improved in this particular subdivision. Again, that money cannot be used for anything else. It can only be used for those items that I mentioned this morning that are set forth in that resolution that created the district. And I will just also say while we're here that all of that financial information is public. It's available upon request at any time. So anybody interested in how much they're paying, what the current revenue of that district, the expenditures of that district, that's all public. And then further, every invoice that we process for those maintenance costs is kept electronically. It's easily requested by email to try to make it as transparent a process as possible.
Thank you. Any other questions from the commission? Any other questions from the commission? Seeing none, is there any public comment on this matter? Any public comment? I don't see any public comment. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I would move that we approve Resolution 2026-66 as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion from the commission? Any discussion from the commission? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor of approving Resolution 2026-66 to levy and assess the Field Cross Grass Gravel Rural Improvement District number 2024-7, as explained by Jessica Makis, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Next item on our agenda is Resolution 2026-67.
Thank you, Chair Ralph. Commissioners, again, my name is Jessica Makis, Special Districts Program Coordinator for Lewis and Clark County. Today, you will be holding public hearing to hear comments and objections regarding the final adoption of a resolution to levy and assess an annual special assessment upon each benefiting property within the Orofino Rural Improvement District. There are 36 properties within this district. This map is a little bit busier, but we can see this district outlined in blue. This is just up North Montana, kind of across from Treasure State Acres. Menlo Park Road is included there. That's kind of that main one off the light. Or I guess there's not a light there, sorry. Anyway, regardless, up on the map for you. The Orofino RID was created in 2024 to improve and maintain Menlo Park Road, Homestake Drive, Lodestar Road, I think that's where the light is, and a portion of Bernice Drive. This district replaced an RID that had been in place since 1994. Improvements for the district included the installation of an asphalt overlay over the full extent of all existing hard surface roadways included in the district. Maintenance of the district includes snow plowing and sanding, crack sealing, pothole patching, sweeping, drainage maintenance, chip sealing, and other maintenance as necessary to preserve the road improvements. Maintenance costs are estimated at $8,280 per year, and each benefiting property will be assessed $230 per year. This amount is unchanged from last year. The cost of improvements was estimated to total $317,641, including the 5% requirement to the RID revolving fund. The original improvement or debt assessment was set at $909 per property per year in order to pay off the original construction estimate over 15 years. Actual construction costs were lower than anticipated, totaling $223,208.77. With this lower cost, we can lower the improvement portion of the assessment from $909 per property per year to $612.17 per property per year until the debt is repaid, approximately 13 years remaining. Legal notice of the assessment and the public hearing was sent to all benefiting property owners and published in the Helena Independent Record on June 20th and June 27th, 2026. As of this morning, no written testimony has been received. Staff recommend approval of the resolution to levy and assess the district and lower the debt assessment. I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Any questions from the commission? Any questions from the commission? So this is the final adoption of this resolution, and setting everything up. The funds collected here will go only to that particular SID.
Chair Rolfe, that's correct. So the funds collected for Orofino Rural Improvement District, that debt assessment that we're lowering down to $612.17 from the original $909, that part of the assessment will be collected to repay the loan that was used to repave all of these roads. And then the additional $230 per property per year will be used to maintain these roads. Those annual items like snow plowing and pothole patching, crack sealing, things like that. And then that larger, lower frequency item of chip sealing.
All right. Any other questions from the commission? Other questions from the commission? Is there any public comment on this? Any public comment? I don't see any public comment. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve Resolution 2026-67 to levy and assess the Orofino Rural Improvement District number 2024-7 2, as presented by Jessica Makis.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion from the commission? Any discussion from the commission? I don't see any discussion. We'll move to a vote. All those in favor of Resolution 2026-67 as to levy and assess the Orofino Rural Improvement District number 2024-2, as explained by Jessica Makis, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Now let's move on to Resolution 2026-68.
Okay, thank you, Chair Ralph. Commissioners, again, for the record, my name is Jessica Makis, Special Districts Program Coordinator for Lewis and Clark County. Today, you will be holding public hearing to hear comments and objections regarding the final adoption of a resolution to levy and assess an annual special assessment upon each benefiting property within the Ryans Lane Rural Improvement District. There are 11 benefiting properties in the district. You can see that before you on the map, just located right off North Montana Avenue between North Montana and Interstate. The Ryans Lane RID was created in 2024 to improve and maintain Ryans Lane and Britton's Way. Improvements for the district included the installation of an asphalt apron at the transition of Ryans Lane and North Montana Avenue, drainage remediation, and new gravel material throughout the full extent of Ryans Lane and Britton's Way. Maintenance funded by the district includes snow removal and sanding, drainage maintenance, grading, and gravel maintenance on the gravel roads, and also includes patching, sweeping, and sealing on the asphalt apron between North Montana Avenue and Ryans Lane. Maintenance costs are estimated at $2,860 per year, and each benefiting property will be assessed $260 per year. This amount is unchanged from last year. The cost of improvements was estimated to total $76,367, including the 5% requirement to the RID revolving fund. The original improvement or debt assessment was set at $715 per property per year in order to pay off the original construction estimate over 15 years. Actual construction costs were lower than anticipated, totaling $42,155.94. With this lower cost, we can lower the improvement portion of the assessment from $715 per property per year to $380.22 per property per year until the debt is repaid, approximately 14 years. Legal notice of the assessment and the public hearing was sent to all benefiting property owners and published in the Helena Independent Record on June 20th and June 27th, 2026. As of this morning, no written testimony has been received. Staff recommend approval of the resolution to levy and assess the district and lower the debt assessment. I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Another case where the actual costs were lower than anticipated, so we're reducing the amount of the assessment for this. Again, all the money coming into this district is used only for this district, for nothing else, and so the folks get a benefit of a lowered assessment.
Chair Ralph, that's correct. So when we estimate these projects, it often takes about 6 months or longer to create the Rural Improvement District once we go through all the petition process and all those public hearings. At that point, we may be facing actual construction the following year. So we do build contingency into these estimates so that, ideally we're coming in under, but we don't want to be over that original amount that we communicate with people. So with our construction markets recently, we've seen a lot more volatility there. So we do consider that when we consider the amount of contingency we should put in each estimate. So that's why we're seeing a lot of these prices come in a bit lower. But it's just something that we're working through right now. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions from the commission? Any questions from the commission? How about public comment on this item? Is there any public comment on this item? If you want to come forward, if you would, and if you just speak into the microphone, make sure the little lighted button is green.
Green, okay.
And if you'll give us your name and go ahead and make your comment.
My name is Frances Hammer, and I live at the end of Ryan's Lane, 1488 Ryan's Lane. I haven't seen anybody out there grading. There's been no maintenance on the road except for my husband filling in the holes and stuff like that. We also had our stop sign taken out and the road signs missing. So there's no road sign. So if we could get somebody out there, I don't know who to talk to because I've only lived up here for like 3 years. But my neighbor said to talk to Mr. Andy there, Hunt Housing. He said he'll have the answers. So I just wanted to know if there's anything else that we need to do other than put a cement barricade around our stop sign and our street sign because it's always in the ditch. And it's about the 5th time we put it up, and we have a water drainage there, so I'm not sure where I'm supposed to put it. So
All right.
I don't know who to talk to as far as getting it.
And I recommend that you work with Jessica, the lady who just made the presentation,
Okay.
and her office is at the Public Works compound. But maybe after the meeting, you two can get together and.
Okay, that
And-
sounds great. Yeah, because I just want to get it rectified because it's like, if I'm paying taxes on it, I should be able, instead of me taking the shovel and the wheelbarrow down there.
All right.
I
Thank you. Thank you. Any comments I think if the two of you get together afterwards, maybe you can answer those questions for her. All right. Is there any other comment? Public comment? Is there any other public comment? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'd move that we approve Resolution 2026-68 as presented.
Second.
All those is there any further discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, Commissioner Hunhouse.
Thank you. Just waited to the end of this batch to make a comment and just thank Jessica. Really appreciate the work. And it is an example of where I think Jessica and the staff and the folks she mentioned, lots of people work on these things, but really looking for the value for the folks that live in these districts and trying to make sure that only assessing for those things that are needed and that, we can relate back to the services that are provided. And I really appreciate people coming forward and letting us know because a lot of times we don't know there's a problem in one of these RIDs unless somebody lets us know. And then as you'll find out when you visit with Jessica, that we'll try and help the best that we can on those items that were within our jurisdiction. So I'm sure. But I just wanted to say thank you. And this is how it's supposed to work. These special districts are created in these subdivisions to assess those properties that are the benefiting properties and that use these streets and roads and services. They're the ones that benefit from them. They're the ones that pay. And so we're always looking for ways to save them money. And then just for people's education, we often get the question, well, why I pay my general taxes, why aren't they going to service these roads? And we have this category that I call the everybody roads. These are the local roads. The everybody roads are where our general taxes go. So those roads like Sierra or Wiley Drive or Birdseye Road, for example. Those are the roads that with our general taxes that we try to service those. But the roads within our subdivisions and the street in front of our houses, we each have a responsibility to contribute to those and to pay for their upkeep. And that's kind of how it is in cities. It's the way it is in counties. And so that's why we set these RIDs up and they seem to work pretty well. But I appreciate the work that's been done and how much it takes to keep track of these things. I think we have over 150 of them now. So it's a lot of work for our staff to track these and make sure that the folks are getting the services they need in those areas. So just a comment of appreciation there mostly, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the time.
Absolutely. Commissioner Payne.
I just wanted to point out our staff, I don't know, recently on the website for the county, and I'm sure Jessica will show you where this is, because it's a big county and we've got lots of roads and we don't know where there's a pothole or a missing stop sign. So there is a place on the county website which you can get on and say, get this stop sign put in, or this is so that you can really keep up on it. So the day the stop sign goes down, they get the information and we can have an opportunity to get that fixed before somebody runs a stop sign and gets killed. So it's really important that our citizens provide this information. In my experience, Jessica has been very responsive to the people that come in and complain about whatever it is they're seeing there's a problem with our roads. So I'm sure Jessica will point that out to you, and I think it's important that we continue to educate people that that is there, and we can't be every place. We need your help. So if you'll report them in, she will make sure the guys or the people in the repair department take care of it.
All right. Thank you. Any further discussion? All right. We've got a motion and a second. Let's go ahead to a vote if there's no further discussion. All those in favor of Resolution 2026-68 to levy and assess the Ryans Lane Rural Improvement District number 2024-6, as explained by Jessica Makis, please say aye.
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 Pose same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Our next item on the agenda is a consolidated land use board bylaws.
Good morning, Commissioners. Lindsay Morgan, a land use planner for Lewis and Clark County. This morning, you will be considering bylaws for the newly created Consolidated Land Use Board. On June 23rd of this year, the Consolidated Land Use Board recommended bylaws to the County Commission that were included in your packet for today's meeting. These bylaws lay out the specific duties and roles of the Consolidated Land Use Board. Just to give you a little bit of background on this, this board was established on April 9th of this year by the County Commission with an effective date of May 17th to assume the duties and roles of a planning board, zoning commission, and board of adjustment. Section 76(1), 114(3) MCA requires that the adopted bylaws for a consolidated land use board clearly define the roles and duties of its members when acting as a planning board, zoning commission, or board of adjustment. A planning board's responsibilities include reviewing and making recommendations to the county commission regarding a growth policy, subdivision regulations, the initial adoption of Part 2 zoning regulations and classifications, and major subdivision plats, among other duties. A zoning commission's duties and roles include recommending amendments to the county commission regarding Part 2 zoning regulations and classifications. And a board of adjustments responsibilities include making decisions regarding Part 2 zoning appeals, conditional use permits, and variances. These roles and duties have been clearly defined in the bylaws that have been recommended to you for this morning's meeting. Do you have any questions for me?
Are there any questions about these bylaws? Any questions about the bylaws? All right. Is there any public comment about the bylaws? Any public comment about the bylaws? So this covers all of the area within the county, with the exception of those in parts of the incorporated cities of Helena and East Helena. Is that correct?
Chairman Rolfe, that's correct.
Okay. All right. Anything else? Yes, go ahead.
I just need to point out, you know how I am about three-letter acronyms. And I see that we have adopted is this a five-letter, four-letter acronym? Could you explain the acronym, please?
Chairman Rolfe, Commissioner Payne, I'm assuming you're talking about C Club?
Yep.
So the C Club stands for County Consolidated Land Use Board.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. All right. We've asked for public comment. We've ask for commission comments. None of those things. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I would move that we approve the bylaws for the Consolidated Land Use Board as presented.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? Is there any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All of those in favor of approving the Consolidated Land Use Board bylaws as explained by Lindsay Morgan, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. All right, the next item we have on our agenda is Resolution 2026-71.
Excuse me. Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. For the record, Rachel Ward with Community Development and Planning. I'm here this morning with Resolution 2026-71 to create the internal subdivision road RID for the proposed Bitterroot Estates subdivision.
Could you pull the microphone down so us deaf people can hear? Thank you.
Sure thing. So this resolution would create a road RID for the maintenance of the internal subdivision road within the Bitterroot Estates subdivision. The road is known as Rosette Lane. The map in front of you shows the location of the proposed subdivision and an adjacent property that would benefit from the maintenance of Rosette Lane and therefore included in this RID. The district is generally located south of Carmen Road in the Grasslands development. The Bitterroot Estates subdivision received preliminary plat approval on September 5th, 2024, subject to 22 conditions of approval, and condition number 16 of that approval required the creation of an RID for the maintenance, repair, and preservation of the internal access road, Rosette Lane. The cost of maintenance is estimated to be $2,225 per year and will be equally assessed $445 per property for the 5 benefiting properties in the district. I will note that 100% of the owners within the proposed district signed the petition to create this internal road RID. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have about this resolution.
Are there any questions from the commission? Any questions from the commission? Is there any public comment on the creation of this RID? Any public comment? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve Resolution 2026-71 to create the Bitterroot Estates Road Rural Improvement for Road Maintenance of District Number 2026-2, as explained by Rachel Ward.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there discussion from the commission? Any discussion from the commission? Yes.
We've worked on this project before, and I'm trying to remember why it is that on they're parallel to Lot 4, there is a strip of land that goes all the way down to the adjoining portion, and as I recall, that was for something specific, but I don't remember what it was.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Payne, we can definitely discuss that in more detail with the final plat application, but I do believe that, as you might recall, this Rosette Lane, as it extends south, it ends in a hammerhead turnaround rather than extending to the east and to the west property lines as our subdivision regulations typically require. They did obtain a variance to that. They are extending the easements to the far end, but the subdivision itself, the easternmost property line, that eastern boundary of Lot 4 does not as you point out, extend. There is that gap.
Okay. Thank you, Rachel. Now, I mean, it hasn't been that long ago that we did this, and I know that you've reminded me. I remember. Thank you.
All right. Is there any other discussion on this matter? Is there any other discussion? See, I think we've got a motion and a second. And there being no further discussion, we will move to a vote. All those in favor of approving Resolution 2026-71 to create the Bitterroot Estates Rural Improvement for Road Maintenance, District Number 2026-2, as explained by Rachel Ward, please say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Now let's move on to Resolution 2026-72.
Okay, again, good morning, Commissioners. For the record, I'm Rachel Ward, planner with the Community Development and Planning Department. I'm here this morning with Resolution 2026-72. This resolution would create a rural improvement district for the Bitterroot Estates subdivision to contribute to the maintenance of Carmen Road within the Pleasant Valley RID. This is an existing RID. The map in front of you shows the location of the proposed subdivision and the adjacent benefiting property. That's what you see in blue. The red dashed line shows the boundary of the existing Pleasant Valley RID. So the Bitterroot Estates subdivision received preliminary plat approval on September 5th, 2024, subject to 22 conditions of approval. And condition number 18 of that approval required the creation of an RID to contribute to the Pleasant Valley Road RID to address maintenance, preservation, and repair of Carmen Road within the boundaries of that existing Pleasant Valley Road RID. The cost of maintenance is estimated to be $105 per year and will be equally assessed, $21 per property for the 5 benefiting properties in the district. Once again, we received, or I should say 100% of the property owners within the proposed district signed the petition to create this RID. And with that, I'm happy to answer questions.
If I understand this correctly, the 5 pieces of property within the Bitterroot subdivision are going to contribute to the maintenance upkeep of the road that the larger subdivision has already created. Is that correct?
Mr. Chair, that's correct. So because, let's see, there we go. Because Carmen Road, this road is a primary means of ingress and egress to this subdivision. These 4 lots will contribute to the maintenance of Carmen Road. I will say it is just a portion of Carmen Road because we'll hear soon another contribution RID for the boundaries of the Grasslands development. We're not double dipping and worked closely with Jessica Makis to ensure that the portion of Carmen Road that these benefiting properties will contribute to is only that portion of Carmen Road that's in Pleasant Valley, but not Grasslands. So we're not double dipping. We've just done the calculations to ensure that through this contribution RID and the next contribution RID, Carmen Road, the primary ingress and egress will be maintained.
Okay. Any other questions? Do we have any public comment on Resolution 2026-72? Any public comment? Seeing no public comment, do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'd move that we approve Resolution 2026-71, or 72, 72 as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the commission? Any further discussion from the commission? Well, seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor of approving Resolution 2026-72 to create the Bitterroot Estates Contribution Rural Improvement District for road maintenance to contribute to road maintenance of the Pleasant Valley Rural Improvement District number 2026-3, as explained by Rachel Ward. Please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Okay, now on to Resolution 2026-73.
Okay, Commissioners, for the record, Rachel Ward, Planner with Community Development and Planning. This resolution is very similar to the last one and would create an RID for the Bitterroot Estates subdivision to contribute to the maintenance of Carmen Road within the Grasslands RID. I will say this is for the maintenance of Carmen Road within the Grasslands RID. The map in front of you shows the location of the proposed subdivision and the adjacent benefiting property. That's outlined in blue. The red dashed line shows the boundary of the existing Grasslands RID. So condition number 18 of the Bitterroot Estates subdivision required the creation of an RID to contribute to the Grasslands RID to address maintenance, preservation, and repair of Carmen Road within the boundaries of the existing Grasslands RID. The cost of maintenance is estimated to be $74 per year and will be equally assessed $14.80 per property for the 5 benefiting properties in the district. Once again, 100% of the property owners within the proposed district signed the petition to create this RID. I'm happy to answer
All right.
questions.
Any questions for Rachel? Any questions? Is there any public comment on this item? Is there any public comment on Resolution 2026-73? Seeing none, can we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve Resolution 2026-73 to create the Bitterroot Estates Contribution Rural Improvement District for road maintenance to contribute to road maintenance of the Grassland Rural Improvement District as presented by Rachel Ward.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Any further discussion from the commission? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor of approving Resolution 2026-73 to create the Bitterroot Estates Contribution Rural Improvement District for road maintenance to contribute to road maintenance of the Grassland Rural Improvement District number 2026-4, as explained by Rachel Ward, please say aye.
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 Pose same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Now, final plat.
Okay, Commissioners, again, for the record, Rachel Ward with the Community Development and Planning Department. This last item of mine is a request for final plat approval and a subdivision improvement agreement for the Bitterroot Estates subdivision. So the subject property is roughly 11.5 acre parcel. It's located south of the Grasslands development. The applicants are Ray and Donna Jean Laframboise. And their final plat application was deemed complete this year on June 16th. The preliminary plat of the Bitterroot Estates subdivision, it's a 4-lot minor residential subdivision, was granted on September 5th, 2024, subject to 22 conditions of approval, some of which we've addressed just now in the creation of RIDs. All conditions of this preliminary plat approval have been satisfied, as noted in the staff report in front of you. I won't go through all 22 of those conditions, but I will touch on some highlights. Specifically, condition number 1 required that the applicant have the water, wastewater, and stormwater facilities reviewed and approved by DEQ and the County Public Health Department. A DEQ certificate of subdivision approval was issued for the proposed subdivision, and the stormwater infrastructure has been installed pursuant to those plans. Condition 3 required an adequate water source for fire protection for the subdivision, and the applicants have provided documentation of payment to the Grasslands Homeowners Association to use the existing public water source in the Grasslands development. This hydrant system was tested by the applicant's engineer with the West Valley Fire District, Chief Hamilton, and that well exceeds the flow rate and pressure requirements that are required for this subdivision. Condition number 4 requires that the internal subdivision road, Rosette Lane, be constructed to a typical section 1, which is a gravel standard. I do want to point out that between preliminary plat approval and now, the applicants determined that they would prefer to have the internal road paved. That paved section was, the road plans were reviewed and approved by the County Public Works Department. The road and associated stormwater certifications have been provided by the applicant's engineer, and there was concurrence issued by the county engineer. I will say, though, that because they elected themselves to pave this road, that will require to be chip sealed in accordance with the typical section number 2 standard. And that's why the applicants have requested and signed a subdivision improvement agreement to ensure that that chip sealing of this road is completed no later than July 7th of 2027. These are some of the more notable conditions of approval, but as I mentioned, all 22 conditions of approval have been met, subject to the approval of the SIA. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions. The owners, Ray and Donna Jean Laframboise, are also present today and can speak as well if you'd like.
Would Mr. and Mrs. Laframboise like to come forward and make any comment? Okay. All right. Commissioners, do you have any questions? Any questions? Seeing no questions from the commission, is there any public comment? Come ahead. And if you would just state your name for the record, please.
Ray Laframboise. I know Commissioner Payne asked about the jog in the deal down there, and it was for originally irrigation. Because there's an irrigation ditch, an overflow that runs down and runs to the partial. Yeah, thanks.
All right. Is there any other public comment? Any other public comment? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'd move that we approve the final plat application and subdivision improvements agreement for the Bitterroot Estates subdivision as presented by Rachel Ward.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. And is there any, Commissioner Hadhouse?
Mr. Chair, yeah, thank you. Sorry to interrupt you there.
No problem.
I just wanted to say thank you to Rachel and to the Laframboise. This is quite a process. It's designed that way, though, so we cover all the details, dot the I's and cross the T's, so that the future owners of these lots it's pretty clear what their responsibilities are and what their services and what the situation will be. So I appreciate the work and all the detail. And thanks to everybody who's worked on this, from the county attorney's office to all the staff that has had to participate in this. So we go through these so quickly in these 4 items today, and then the final plat. But just wanted to pause for a second and recognize how much work went into this and how much effort and on everybody's part, and wish you the best and congratulations on getting to this point, because it's a big deal. We're finally there. So thank you very much, Rachel, and everyone who's worked on this project. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I would agree. There's a lot of work behind this, and there's a lot when you've got different subdivisions cooperating to make everything happen. So I appreciate the detail you've gone to and to try and make this right so that there aren't problems in the future.
No, thank you.
Any other comments? Then we'll let's see. I guess we've got a motion on. We have a motion. Yeah,
Yes.
We've got a motion on the floor. All those in favor of approving the final plat application and subdivision improvement agreement for Bitterroot Estates subdivision, subdivision 2026-005, as explained by Rachel Ward, please say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Now, our next item on the agenda is a board appointment. Mr. Fitzpatrick.
Good morning, Commissioners. Connor Fitzpatrick, Lewis and Clark County Elections. Bring before you today a board appointment for the East Clark Street Water Sewer District. Isabel Zarsky applied for appointment to an open seat that was left open after candidate filing ended. She was also the incumbent who was holding the seat prior, so just running a little bit behind the curve there when it came to the timeline. So nothing too crazy going on here. Isabel is still a resident of the East Clark Street Water Sewer District, is still interested in serving. Just got some paperwork in a little bit later. So with all of that in mind, staff recommends appointing Isabel Zarsky to a seat on the East Clark Street Water Sewer District for a full 4-year term. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions from the commission? Any questions from the commission? Is there any public comment? Is there any public comment? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move we approve the board appointment as presented by Connor Fitzpatrick.
Second.
All right, any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor of approving the board appointment of Isabel Zarsky to the East Clark Street Water Sewer District Board of Directors, please say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Public hearing on the Lewis and Clark County preliminary budget for fiscal year 2027.
Morning, Commissioners. For the record, my name is Frank Cornwell, CFO of the county. Today, we are going to go over the preliminary budget for 2027. It could be fairly quick because we've already done this. This is the second presentation of this budget, and which we will be asking for approval of at the end of the presentation. We did this preliminary budget presentation on June 23rd, and this is just as a reminder, this is a consolidated result of all the departmental budgets that you reviewed and saw in May, and this is just a result of that.
Pardon me, go ahead.
I have a question, Frank. Yesterday, you very generously sat down and helped me understand this. And of course, I still have the presentation you did like this from, I believe, June 23rd, the preliminary.
Mm-hmm.
And as I was comparing them, I noticed there's a differentiation in the numbers. For example, the amount for the capital outlay in the previous presentation was 10.2%. No, it was 9.5%, and this one is 10.2%. Similarly, internal transfers was 8.2%. Now it's 8.1%.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner, I can answer that. It is.
You can. I'm not thinking there's any subterfuge. It's just I don't understand the difference between this presentation and the June 23rd presentation.
Just like any other budget, there's noise that happens between that presentation and this presentation, and there's always adjustments made. Typically, between that presentation and this presentation, we'll have budget rollovers, and that's pretty common within your capital improvement. So we have a lot of public works projects that we're trying to get wrapped up prior to the end of the year. It's very typical that those get moved over to the next year. So that's going to affect your capital improvement line, your capital outlay line, and just any other kind of ancillary administrative adjustments to kind of come in at the last second. They have very little impact on things. Anything that's significant will be brought in front of you. Also, anything that needs an amendment will also be brought in front of you for 2026 as well by the end of this month. So 2026 can affect 2027 because of the departments may struggle to spend down those 2026 budget items and they move them to 27. So that's what's happening. And then there's also things that happen prior to year end that end up affecting the next year's budget. So very common. That's something that I was questioning my first year here. I was like, whoa, what's going on? It is a very, very typical thing that happens. I point out anything that's significant that needs to be brought in front of you that may have a change or an impact on a budget, but none of these have anything significant. These are just typical rollovers. We used to call those accruals over at the state of Montana. It's just, you've already agreed to do the project. You've already approved the budget in the prior year. It just hasn't been spent. So then the authority moves to the next year.
Thank you, Frank.
No worries.
I do appreciate this.
Mm-hmm. No, I appreciate the question.
If I could ask one on this particular screen as well, or this page 3 on our presentation, written presentation. You have transfers to the CIP fund of 3%.
Yeah.
And we ask a much larger percentage than that of our departments to go in there. Does that mean that we had there's extra money that was there that wasn't spent, and so we didn't have to raise it any higher, or how do we explain that?
Commissioner, I would explain that it's tough to. As I was saying, this is a consolidated result of each individual budget. So each one of those budgets has a transfer. Well, we try to. Not all of them do, but most of them have a transfer into their CIP. It could be at any point in time, those transfers can change. Some years they see, for example, last year, I would point out ITNS. They went in, they look at their whole budget, their CIP budget, and they found out that their transfer was too high, so they reduced it. That's just typical analysis year over year. Sometimes we do an additional analysis and find out it's too low, or we find out that we had a good year operationally. We kept budget low. We have a bigger reserve at the end of the year, and we have an underfunded CIP, so it will increase those contributions. So it can be noisy. I hate to put a la carte, sweep across the board here, saying that this is what happened across the board. Like this, the commission's CIP transfer hasn't changed. It's still $800,000. That amount typically doesn't change. The public works, when it comes to their buildings, that thing changes every year. The road and bridges, they try to reserve as much as possible. We know they don't have enough reserved in order to repair all the roads and bridges that they would like to. So I would say that line item is for the most part steady. You're going to see that 3%, could be 4%, could be 2.5%. But I wouldn't be too worried about it unless it goes down to like a 1% or a 2%, where we would go, whoa, what's going on? That means we're putting pressure on our operations. We're not allowed to make these contributions into the CIP. This 3% has been around since I've been here. It's gone up closer to 4 or 5%. And that was typical within the year when we had ARPA, additional dollars. We found projects that we were able to make those higher transfers in those years. But this is at $4 million. I think it's a reduction from prior year, but it's just due to additional analysis on each one of these CIPs. And I think we have nearly 20 of them. So,
Okay, thank you.
yep, thank you.
Go ahead and proceed.
So just as a reminder, we always like to point out our commissioner goals, commission goals. We focus on develop and maintain a culture of customer service, engage in effective long range planning. That is indicative of our reserve planning, especially when we focus on our CIPs, constantly reviewing as much as far out as we possibly can. It's, we don't have a crystal ball that's perfect, but we do our best. And the departments work very hard on trying to get their CIPs as funded as possible. Improve communication between departments, community partners, and public. And then the last item, efficiently and effectively manage public resources. That's something that we see done within our departments, worked very hard. We see constantly communicating with them, constantly working to put those dollars to work as effectively as possible. That is our day-to-day job. And as we had already kind of looked at page 3 here, or slide 3, just point out the $136 million overall expenditure spend down for 2027. That's what's been budgeted. 31% of that, or 31.7% of that is personnel costs at $43 million. That number is adjusted to our annual cost of living adjustment and insurance costs as those rise. Going to the overall revenues for the county, we're seeing that going up by 9.3%, up to $114 million. This year, I explained this last time, it's fine to point it out again. We're having a good result with Public Works obtaining additional federal dollars for a couple projects. I'd like to point out, like Country Club Road, and there's an Augusta Bridge project, I think. Bridge, yeah. And big dollars. They tend to have a big impact on these year-to-year overall revenue increases. The taxes, that line, the $46 million, that stays at 40% annually. That's a pretty, I call that a fixed income kind of thing. It gets an adjustment at 3.5% this year. Some years it's lower, some years it's higher, just based on the inflationary factor. Moving to the all-purpose fund, we like to point this out because this is a high-focused fund. We're seeing a year-over-year increase of 3.3% for this fund. Again, that's primarily due to personnel costs and the cost of living adjustment. We have a busy-ish election year coming up as well. It's not as busy as this prior year, but still busy. So additional costs come with those services that we provide. Moving on to the all-purpose fund revenues, we're seeing just a slight increase there, 1.7%. Again, that's the inflationary factor, growth factor affecting our taxes. I've held a little bit of a smaller increase or smaller interest earnings projection this year because we know the interest was projected to go down when we were putting these together. So this is a smaller projection than I think will actually happen going into 27 due to interest rates now kind of holding. They went going down. We don't see the Feds reducing rates anytime soon. I think the next projected rate decrease is sometime in the winter. So that's half the year. Will likely have very little impact. So we'll likely see interest earnings go above that $910,000. Kind of already talked about this a little bit. We have a 2.7% matrix adjustment. That's the COLA, cost of living adjustment across the board. We also do our steps. That's 2.7% affects our steps. We have 7 steps for each grade that every employee has. So that's been shown into the overall budget. We also have a $305 increase on our health insurance premium. This is something that Roger, Carrie, and I are working very hard with our actuary to get this taken care of. We've had to make some really tough decisions this year, but I think for the pool, for the group health insurance overall, I think we're going in the right direction. It's just a constant battle for us. We have 2 FTE that we're adding for the next fiscal year. All of 1.5 of them are coming in the public works realm. 1 for a scale operator or an attendant for the new scratch gravel site expansion into the landfill. We're going to need somebody out there to monitor that site. I think there may be additional FTEs requested in the future for this, but for now it's the 1. We're also asking for, Public Works is also asking for a landfill operator to move from half-time to a full-time due to just increased workload. The other item that we got a point, or the other FTE increase is a half-time increase to a full-time for MS4 implementation. We know that that's something that we're working very hard on. Jenny and her team are working very hard on that. It's likely going to need additional resources, so we're going to have this position move from half-time to a full-time position for MS4 implementation. Good news, we're retaining all of our services at our current level, so year over year within these budget projections, the current service level that we achieved in 26 is going to be achieved again in 27. That's a good result year over year with healthy reserves. That's I guess a very main mandate that we have upon ourselves when it comes to the departments and their finances, and they achieved that this year with these within this budget. Our initiatives haven't changed year over year, but they still are a focus with all of us and the commission as well. The mental health and diversion services, liability and health insurance continues to be a struggle that we have to work on. One of these days, maybe we won't have to have that on there. We'll see. It'll probably be a couple of years until we can get that off. Capital project prioritization, we know that it's a priority now. That'll stay on there forever. Building and security and storage. One thing I've seen this year is a lot of security improvements as much as we possibly can to make, and then safety improvements as well across our buildings. MS4 implementation will be going very strong in the fiscal year of 27.
If I remember that MS4 program is a federally mandated program, but it doesn't really carry any funds to do it. We're just told we have to do it because we're over a certain population size by the federal government.
Mr. Chair, absolutely. That is a requirement that the county must follow due to just population growth and turning into a metropolitan type of area, and all the additional risks of having this many folks we have on our water and sewer. The federal requirements tell us to do more work on that, and unfortunately, we don't get additional dollars to do that additional work. But we're working hard to try to keep that implementation as low cost as we can. But it is a challenge for sure. So moving on, we'll focus on capital improvement plans here. This is, again, a consolidated result. Commissioner Rolfe had already hit upon this, that $4.1 million of transfers in. That's it's great to be able to see our departments to make that transfer. They're taking that out of their operational budget and moving it into a fund with purposes to be spent on projects going forward. That's long-term planning. This year we have budgeted to spend $8 million in capital improvements. We rarely get to spend that entire amount. I just know that it's very difficult to get these projects off the ground, but it's really important that we make these dollars available to the departments to be able to keep their head on a swivel to make sure that they can buy those trucks when they're available, or take advantage of deals when they can to reduce costs of executing these projects. Other capital funds, these ones are somewhat separated out for RID projects, is for $400,000. And then the big one, Road and Bridge, $7.6 million there for capital improvement. So as a result of all of the revenues coming in and expenditures going out, what's the impact on your reserves? Year-end operating and capital reserves are estimated to have to land at 40% of budgeted expenditures. So we're estimating to end fiscal year 27, everything happened as expected, to be $55 million. Operating reserves, that of that $55 million, we have operating reserves of $36.6 million, which is 30% of those budgets. We have an estimated ending capital reserve of $18.6 million. And also, we'd like to focus on your all-purpose fund reserve, which is we're estimated to end that year at 29% of budgeted expenditures, or $6.1 million. Just like to point out, we have a ceiling for our budgets. Any budget that receives a mill levy revenue, ceiling at the end of the year, they're not allowed to project over 33%. All of our budgets have achieved that. We also have a floor that's an internal policy. Their floor is 25%. We can't have our budgets go below 25%. That would get us to the next mill levy revenue, or so we'd have two tranches annually when we receive mill levy revenue. We receive it in November and we receive it in May typically. So our operations that depend on mill levy revenue, they're right now, starting in July, they're operating on last year's revenue, on the revenue they received in June. And they need enough money to make it to November. And that's why we require 25% base for those funds. And everybody has achieved that, including the all-purpose fund. All right, this is where things get a little bit different from the last presentation. For the all-purpose fund, just to point out, just for kind of, I think you guys already know this, but we'll point out this calculation again. We're estimating the all-purpose fund's mill levy revenue to be at $1.2 million, or a 3.5% increase. We already know that part of that increase will be 2.9% inflationary growth. That number won't change. That's already been determined. That is 3 years average of inflation, capped at 4%. So if we go above 4%, we're not getting those dollars. But at least we would know what that is. Right now it's at 2.9% or 2.97%. And we're estimating a growth factor of 0.5%. Typically, this county is going to have, at least since I've been here, I would say a 1 to 3% growth in new properties. The legislature has changed the rules on growth. We no longer get 100% of that. We get 70%, 75% of residential homes, and we get 40% of commercial property. And then all the other taxing jurisdictions have also been reduced to at least 40%, some as low as 10%. But the vast majority, as you know, of the revenue coming in to the county is coming from commercial property and residential property. We no longer get that So to be conservative this year, we're at using a 0.5% increase in growth. No idea how, I assume it's going to be higher than that, but we'll see. We'll find out on August 3rd when certified values come out, and we'll see how I did. Not really worried about my projection, but it's going to be very interesting to see the overall impact. Another requirement. This is something that came out in the 2023 session, that we are now required to present $100,000, $300,000, and $600,000 residential loan home impact. So what are our mill levies going to have an impact on these three values? So at $100,000 for 2027, if everything held equal, because we can only use last year's, if there was no change, we know there's changes coming, but if there's no changes to other taxing entities, city, school districts, and others, we would see a $7.77 or $7.77 increase for a $100,000 home, a 23 and 30 cent increase on a $300,000 home, and we would actually see a decrease on a $600,000 home for $261 and 35 cent for $261.35. So why the decrease? The decrease is due to an additional tax bracket being brought in this year. As you may remember from prior year, the legislature implemented 3 tax brackets. We would no longer have a flat tax rate for our homes. They had 3. So the first tax bracket was 0.7% for the first $400,000. The next, anything after $400,000 up to $1.4 million had a tax of 1.1%. And then anything above that $1.4 million was taxed at 2.2%. This year, it's changed. Legislature added a 4th taxing bracket. So, and they slotted it in between 1 and 2. So now we have a second one. So, and to make things even more confusing, they added the $400,000 baseline is out the window. Now you use median, which ironically is close to $400,000 probably for this year. And it's the median price of a home within the state of Montana. So up to that median price, we will see taxes continue to be at 0.76% for that first bracket. The next bracket will be 1.9%. And then the third bracket will remain at 1.1%. And the last bracket, which is in the millions, because it's 4 times the median, is at 1.9%, which is a reduction from the 2.2 to 1.9%. So anything over $400,000 or above the median home price is going to see a reduction if everything was held equal. We know there was a school bond that was passed this year, so that probably will chew up any of those reductions for those homes that land within those tax brackets. But if everything was held equal, they would see a reduction. I'd like to point out that we have, so when you see that reduction, where is that money coming from? That is coming from non-primary homes. Now they get a flat tax, kind of like the old school way of calculating residential home taxes. Now that is only being applied to non-primary homes. So you have a lake home, you're gonna get a flat tax, and it's at 1.9%. Those properties are the ones that are going to be backfilling and paying for that $261 reduction for these $600,000 homes. Last point I would like to make: we will be setting the mills in September. We're going to have a much longer discussion. We can get way farther into the weeds on this in September. I want to give you a preliminary view on this. And I'm thinking about it. I know there's going to be a lot of questions. this is going to have a pretty big impact on folks, but mainly on the non-primary homes. I think it's going to have a significant impact. I think we're going to have a lot of questions. Commissioners might be fielding a lot of those, which was totally fine if you forward those on to me. The other item that I think we might see questions on is the school district. When that school bond, we know that the school district is implementing half of that school bond. So I don't know what that's going to cost, but that will have an impact as well on the property taxes. So we have quite a bit of property tax stuff that we need to learn in the next month or two. But I'm just priming the pumps, getting everybody thinking about it, and we'll hopefully it won't be too big of an impact and we won't have too much confusion, but I think there's going to be a little bit of confusion here. Last slide here, just we talked about I guess I didn't talk about it on this one. I did in the last presentation, but there's an overall decrease in revenue of $22.5 million. I'd like to point out that $800,000 of that is due to open space projects, maintenance districts of $7.5 million, capital reserve spend down of $4.6 million, and our typical operating cash reserve spend down of $9.4 million. So about half of this is coming out of basically just capital. So that's typical. Since I've been here, we always have a spend down. Shoot, my first year here, we had a $30 million spend down. And a lot of that was actually ARPA and other capital improvement projects. The operating cash reserve spend down it's been pretty stable at $8-9 million. But just like to point that out to you. It helps kind of describe that that spend down on the reserves. But so going forward, this is a reminder, we have a final budget resolution adoption that'll be on July 16th this year, which is almost 2 weeks ahead of time from last year. And we are asking for a motion to approve the budget as presented.
Frank, could we talk just a little bit? Over the last few years, we received quite a influx of money from the federal government through ARPA and related funds. And those special funds are kind of drying up. Mm-hmm. How is that affecting our total operation? The fact that we've spent those funds and we don't have those extra funds anymore.
Mr. Chair, thank you for the question. So it's definitely having an impact. I would see where we could maybe. Well, I don't have it. I thought I maybe had some way to show it in the presentation, but I would describe it as basically, it means that we're seeing kind of a flatlining year over year in our overall spending, because that was a significant increase in spending for the county that we typically wouldn't have. And as that phased out, that spending went away, and so it kind of, I think last year or the year before, we actually saw a reduction in spending for the county overall, because those ARPA dollars are coming off. It was, I think it was $16 million before I came on that you guys received. And so it took, it's taken us all of 4 or 5 years to spend those down. And that has a dramatic impact on our budget. So there was a year where, as those monies were being spent, we actually saw a reduction in overall budget. And so now we're seeing it flatlining, and we're just seeing a very typical year-over-year change. But we have the folks like Public Works bringing in additional federal dollars for new projects, and that creates noise, and it's we can see a little bit of a spike there, especially from revenue, and also additional spend down for expenses overall. But those are dollars coming in from another source, and we're putting them to work.
Then a second question is we hear a lot about the potential that there'll be some federal funds that may not be available down the road, and we typically request a lot of federal funds to help on road projects and any different bridges and whatnot. Some of them are state funds. Some of them are federal funds that are run through the state. We still are fairly dependent on those extra funds to get everything done, aren't we?
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, we are definitely very dependent, especially when it comes to road and bridges. We had a Dalton Mountain bridge that was recently done, and I think most of it was state dollars, and the county couldn't have done that on its own. So we really depend on those, especially for those huge projects. And that was a very, very big, very expensive project, but that we needed those dollars in order to execute that. So yes, when it comes to those projects, highly dependent on them. I don't know what percentage it is. Maybe Roger could give us a little bit more color on it, but or Jenny. But yes, absolutely. And federal dollars have a huge impact on our public health departments. That I believe it's half of their revenue is federal dollars. So that department would be it has a significant dependence on those dollars from outside.
Okay. All right. Other questions? All right.
So, Mr. Chair, maybe
yes,
I can just
Mr.
add a
Baltz.
little bit. Mr. Cornwell did an excellent job of addressing your question, I think, but I just thought I would add, you asked specifically about the American Rescue Plan Act monies that we've gotten in. It is just under $16 million. So a total of 53 different allocations of money were made under that program, which is wrapping up for us. But just as a reminder, Commissioners, as that was implemented over the years, we paid very close attention to not spending that money in ways that would create what I'll informally call strings or ongoing expenditures that would have to be made. And I think we've been very successful in doing that. So they were very worthwhile projects, but they didn't come with the requirement to keep expending money year after year after year. And that was done intentionally by the county commissioners. So, and just to go to your question regarding grants overall, yes, our organization relies very heavily upon grants, and we've made a commitment to pursuing whatever grant opportunities are out there that we can use to supplement our operations and programs to serve our citizens. And as you all know, we've actually created a department called Grants and Purchasing that Ann McCauley supervises for us so that we can be assertive, aggressive to go after grants whenever and wherever possible. So they're very important to our overall operations, Commissioner, absolutely. I just wanted to add those comments.
Thank you. And I think that it's important for the public to know that we are trying to do as much as we can. Sometimes that requires going after those grants, or quite often it requires going after those federal and state grants in order to make it work. And it's a big part of what we do. Roughly speaking, the size of our total budget has been running in that $130 million a year, if I recall, and we're only bringing in property tax in somewhere in the $35-40 million a year area. So the rest has to come from somewhere.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
Right. All right. Other questions? Is there any public comment on this preliminary budget? Is there any public comment on the preliminary budget? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'd move that we approve the preliminary budget as presented and set a public hearing for July 16th for the final budget resolution.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the preliminary budget as presented and set up the final hearing on a week, I guess. Is it July
16th.
July 16th, so a week from today. All right. Is there any comment from the commission? Any comment from the commission? Yes, Commissioner Payne.
I just, I appreciate the point you made just now about how much of our budget is based on property taxes versus how much money we spend taking care of our citizens, our taxpayers, the people that, and I get a lot of flack about how high our property taxes are. So I really appreciate you bringing that up, that we do everything we can so that the property taxes are kept as low as possible while we still provide these services. Would you give me those numbers again about how much is property taxes versus how much is grants? Didn't you just?
Frank can probably be more precise than I was there.
And this, Mr. Chair, Commissioner. So this year, Mr. Chair was very close. He was about the $4 million. Wait, sorry, I'm in the wrong one. So this year we're about $46 million in property taxes. The intergovernmental line, that's the line that comes from state and federal dollars. That line is fairly volatile because we're going after those federal and state dollars all the time. Some years it can be much lower as a percentage, it can be much higher as a percentage. So it can range between 12 to 20% of the total annual revenues. And this year, I would say it was a good result because we had a little bit of a bump due to those big projects.
And I think one other thing that we need to remind our taxpayers when they receive that property tax bill, probably in November sometime, the county portion, the part that is coming to Lewis and Clark County, is somewhere around 25% of the total bill.
Yeah.
Another 20 or 25%, if they live in the city of East Helena or Helena, goes to the city. But 50% roughly of our tax bill goes to public schools. And so the fluctuations in your tax bill are not really too heavily, it's not what the county's doing all the time. And it's a lot about what all three entities are doing all the time.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I'd just like to add the perfect way to kind of present that is that if you think about that $100,000 home getting a $7.77 increase, that's basically only county. Before all the other noise comes in, before the city and the school district comes in, that was $7.77. So that's pretty minor impact, but we know that there's probably going to be a couple $100 additional increase due to schools.
So the dollars that we're talking about, the county spending, really are somewhere around a quarter of the total tax bill that they get.
Mr. Chair, and that will likely go down.
Yeah, and it varies a lot by individual location of the property. and what special districts they're involved in, and what school district they're involved in, and whether or not they're within a city, one of the incorporated cities.
Correct.
Okay. Well, we have a motion and a second to approve the preliminary budget and set up the final budget presentation a week from today. Is there any more discussion? Then we'll move to a vote. All those in favor of approving this preliminary budget for fiscal year 2027 as presented by Frank Cornwell, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. We've arrived at the time in our deliberations where we always preserve some time for public comment, and we ask that encourage folks to come and make presentations about things that are on their heart. They have things that they have concerns about that are under the jurisdiction of the county commission, but not on today's agenda. And so, is there any public comment today? Is there any public comment? There being none, we're adjourned.